Okay, welcome to COM 205, Communication in a Global Age, Summer 2016. This will be our format for the class. It'll be online. I'll be posting lectures on YouTube, and this lecture, or it's not really a lecture, but this session, I guess, is really important. You want to make sure that you watch this um, entire session, okay, and pay attention very closely. I recommend that you, at this point, if you haven't already done so, get your syllabus out, because that's what I'm going to be doing in this introductory session. I'm going to be taking you through the course so that you have all of the proper understanding and expectations of the course. Um, so yeah, you can. The great thing about this is that you can just pause it and go get your syllabus. So I'll assume that you've done that. But as you can see, and I'm hoping that this is working okay. I won't know until I'm done recording this. But the course will go from June 7th to August 1st. There is a detailed schedule on the syllabus itself, which is available via the Canvas site, which you should already know that because I sent you an email a couple of weeks ago. But and my name is Mohammed El Masri. I'm the instructor for the course. You can see my email address there. I have included my phone number. I don't usually do that, but for normal classes. But I do that for online classes because sometimes it's important that you get a hold of me. Text is best, but if in a pinch, if you need to call me, you can do that. Email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. I check my email usually 4 or 5 times a day, so I can usually get back to you within a couple of hours. Um, I'm going to be holding my office hours, virtual office hours, by Skype. So if you don't have Skype, you're going to have to download it. It's an application, for those of you that don't know, that you can if you just Google Skype download, it's free. It'll take you about 2 minutes to download. If you have a Mac, you have to download the Mac version. If you have a PC, you have to download the PC version. But Skype allows for basically video conference. I mean, we can have a voice chat or we can actually have a video chat. So I'll be having my virtual Skype office hours on Monday through Thursday from 12 to 1 and by appointment. So here's what I need you to do, and this is important. If you want to meet with me on Skype, this is a little bit different than normal office hours. With normal in-person office hours, you would just show up to my office, right? And I'd be there and you'd be able to talk to me. But I'm not necessarily just going to be hanging out on my computer. I'm going to need you to let me know that you want to meet with me. So try to email me via Canvas or just via portal. You can just type in my email address, mlmastery@una.edu, and just let me know that, hey, I plan on calling you on Skype during your office hours, and give me like an approximate time. I'm going to call you at 12 o'clock, or I'm going to call you at 12:30, just so I know. Now, if something happens where you can't email me in advance, something happens and you're like, it's urgent and you need to speak to me. It's 12:30 and you didn't email me and you figured out that you need to speak with me. What you can do in that case is just send me a text message, and that way I'll get it right away and just say, hey, professor, please, if you could just hop on Skype, and we can set it up that way. So, and by the way, I'm very flexible. So if you need to meet with me outside of office hours, like it's even in the evening, if I'm around, if I'm not doing anything, you can text me and we can have a Skype chat that way. So that's how we're gonna meet. Um, you can see the key summer dates. We do have our final exam. That's pretty important on August 1st. But I do have a detailed schedule, which I'll kind of go through here in a minute. That's the textbook, as you can see. It's called Converging Media: A New Introduction to Mass Communication. I use the fourth edition. They do have a fifth edition out, but I haven't started using it yet. So you want to get the fourth edition. Now I know some of you want to ask, well, what if we find the third edition or the second edition or whatever? you have to do that kind of at your own risk. I have not studied the second and third editions of this book. I've, sort of paged through the third edition very briefly, but usually there are some changes. Usually they're not major changes, but usually there are some changes with different editions. So you might conceivably lose out on a little bit of material. So you could be, I might ask a question about something that's in the book in the fourth edition that's not even mentioned in the third edition. So you could get, you know, you could be out of luck there if you have an old edition. On the other hand, I do know that some students have used older editions and it works out. I mean, it's a little bit inconvenient because you have to figure out what this chapter is in this book compared to the other book and stuff like that. But if you want to deal with that and you want to save some money, then who am I to say you can't do that? But you do so. If you do that at your own risk. It's the course description. This is basically a foundation course in communication. It's kind of your introduction to mass communication. We're going to talk about major American media, but we're going to, radio, TV, social media, internet, online, right? Newspapers. But we're going to try to place them in a larger global context. The book kind of takes a historical approach, which I think is kind of interesting. It takes you through sort of the history of some of these various media, and that's kind of the approach that I take. I follow the textbook. Okay, so you can read the rest of that course description on your own. And as far as the course structure is concerned, as I mentioned, and as I think you know, because you signed up for an online course, this course will be taught entirely online. I'm not even in Alabama, so we won't meet at any point during this term. What I will be doing, and in fact what I've already done, as you've noticed if you've looked at the Canvas page at all, I will be posting links to video recorded lectures, just like this, except the actual lectures will be PowerPoint. So you'll be able to see the PowerPoint slides. You'll be able to obviously see and hear me explaining the material and so on and so forth. So that's how the course is going to be taught. I will also make the PowerPoint slides available via the Canvas site. So, and they're there actually right now. If you go into files, you'll see a little folder for PowerPoint slides. So they're there for you. You can access them via your computer. If you wanted to print them off, you could print them off. So that's there for you as well. You need to be successful in this course, you need to watch all of the lectures. The nice thing is that it's super convenient. This is the great thing about the online course. You can watch 2 lectures back to back. You can do it like a binge session, which I know would be really fun, right? Watch like 5 lectures in a day or whatever, or on the weekend, whatever you want. If you get a little bit behind, it's no big deal as long as you're paying attention to the assignment dates and the exam dates. You can make up time. You can watch at night. You can watch in the morning. So it's very convenient, very flexible. But you have to watch all those lectures because I do. The tests will be based on the things that I say in lecture and also the reading material from the textbook. So you need to read the book. You need to watch the lectures, and then obviously study those PowerPoint slides. I mean, a lot of the test questions, I'm telling you right now, will be taken from the PowerPoint slides. Some will also be taken from the book, but a lot of them will be from lecture and meaning the PowerPoint slides and also the video recorded lectures there. They match up. I mean, the video and the PowerPoint will match up. So for Skype, as I already talked about, you have to download Skype. Once you download Skype, which again takes like 2 minutes, the second thing you have to do is you have to add me as a contact on Skype, okay, so that we can communicate. So what you should do is you go into Skype, and I can't remember right now. I think it's called. I actually think it's called Contacts. I think there's a tab up in the corner. I mean, you'll figure it out. But if you have trouble, you can email me and I can help you. But there's a tab up in the left-hand corner that says Contacts, I believe, if I remember correctly. And there you can do a search. And what you want to type in the search bar is Mo Masri. That's my name. That's my little, Skype name. Momasry. I'll come up. You click add contact or whatever. I'll get that invitation, and then I'll accept the invitation, and then you and I will be contacts on Skype, and then I can call you. You can call me or whatever. Right. Um, Exam dates are very important. Make sure you check the syllabus for those. I'll go through those in a moment here once we get down to that point. You're responsible for anything that I announce on Canvas. You're responsible for emails that I send out. So you need to make sure that you're checking your emails, that you're checking the Canvas page. Now, the nice thing about announcements is that you will get an email telling you that I've made an announcement or I've posted an announcement. So just make sure you check your email regularly. I usually recommend to students to check their emails twice a day at a minimum, right? Once kind of in the morning, afternoon time, and then the other time at night. So that's kind of just a general guide. Um, if you have any questions at all, I want this to be a good experience for you. If you need any kind of clarification about assignments, the course material, whatever, just email me. And if you want to meet with me, we can meet on Skype and we can talk through stuff. And I enjoy that, so don't hesitate at all. You obviously have to have a computer with internet access to complete this course. If you have problems, if you have a shoddy internet connection or something, you got to figure something out. I mean, it shouldn't be hard. I mean, you can go to campus, you can use the computer labs there, you can go to your public library. I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult, but you do need a computer, and you do need internet access to be able to complete this course successfully. Obviously, because of all the PowerPoints and stuff that you have to watch on YouTube. Yeah, that little note there that starts at some point during the semester, that's important. I don't accept, technology problems as an excuse. If your laptop crashes, whatever, file becomes corrupted, I don't want to be cold and say I don't care, but that's really your responsibility, and what you have to do, as we all have to do, is sort of take precautionary measures. You should save your work regularly. You should have a flash drive or some sort of external hard drive where you're saving your work so that if something happens with your computer, you've always got a backup. One of the things that I do is I email my work to myself, and it's just there in my email inbox so that if anything happens, to an important file, then I have the email. So you always want to plan ahead. You want to save your work. You want to make backups, and so on and so forth. These are the course objectives. I think I'll just let you read through those. I do want you to read through them, but you can read through those on your own. Academic honesty and student conduct. This is something that I take very seriously. I obviously, like most professors, I assume, do not accept any kind of academic dishonesty, any sort of plagiarism or cheating of any kind. And I do take that very seriously, and I've it's not a pleasant part of my job, but I have had to give students zeros, and I've had to fail students. So please, don't do that. It creates a big problem, more so for you, obviously, but it's just not worth it. The temptations are there, especially with an online course, but you have to do original work, and I have ways. You'd be amazed. It's not all that difficult to catch people when they're cheating. So I have my ways. So don't cheat. Don't plagiarize. If you don't know what plagiarism is, I recommend logging on to plagiarism.org and reading about plagiarism. Anytime you represent the words, ideas, or data of another person as your own work, that is plagiarism. And if you ever use someone's direct words, you have to put those in quotation marks. If you don't, that is technically plagiarism. There's also something called self-plagiarism, where you can plagiarize yourself. Like if you wrote something for another source and now you reproduce the same work, not citing the original source, then you've essentially self-plagiarized. So you can read about that on plagiarism.org. Would be a good exercise for you, not just for this class, but really in general for your own knowledge. I expect writing to be of high quality. We do have some papers in this class. They're short papers. It's nothing to, like fret over, but you do have to write of high quality. I mean, if I just wanted your knowledge, then I could ask you a bunch of questions and have you answer them, right? Or we could do oral assignments or something like that, which would be easy enough. But I actually want you to write. And so one of the things that I grade, one of the things that I assess on those paper assignments is your writing quality. So I expect accurate spelling. I expect no or at least minimal grammar mistakes. I expect proper organizational structure for your paper. So make sure that you've written your papers well. If you have issues, if you have trouble, if you're someone that's still kind of trying to struggle your way through some of your writing, you can visit the Center for Writing Excellence at UNA. You can go to that website that's linked there, and you can find their contact information and their hours for the summer. And they're very good about helping students with their assignments, and also kind of teaching them why a certain phrase would work better, or why a different kind of sentence structure would be more appropriate, right? I expect all of your written assignments to be double spaced, standard margins, Times New Roman, 12-point font. I just make it standard because then I don't have to monkey with the students who try to manipulate fonts and margins and stuff like that to get to their page limits, which I'm sure will not be foreign to you. Late assignments, basically the bottom line here is don't turn in your work late. If you do, I reserve the right to grade you down. My general rule is I deduct 25% of the grade if you turn it in late, and then the more time that elapses, the more points I will deduct. So if you have a legitimate excuse, you got sick and you have to go to the doctor or something, let me know. Try to let me know ahead of time if possible. I'm a pretty reasonable guy, but I also don't want you to sort of try to take advantage of that and just try to make up excuses or things like that. And the general rule here, I expect your work to be done on time by the due dates. I already mentioned Canvas. You're responsible for anything that I post to Canvas, so make sure you check that site. Generally, you get email updates that tell you that I've done something or posted something to the Canvas site. If you have email issues, I've listed a phone number there that you can contact. And here are the assignments. This is probably the part of the syllabus that you're most concerned with. So you have to do couple of initial assignments that are very, very easy, and that are basically just free points. And I can already see a typo here. Should say 2016. I apologize. So actually, let me take a moment to explain this, to explain something before I talk about the assignments. So I actually taught this course last summer, in the summer of 2015. And so the lectures that you see on, sorry, as I readjust, I'm just kind of sitting in my bed here, as I am wont to do. But the lectures that you see on YouTube were actually recorded last year, last summer. Okay, so if I look a little bit younger in the videos, the other videos, that's why, right? But that's no big deal because it's the same. I haven't changed anything. The course is the same. It's the same book. It's the same material. So that's why I figured, well, instead of re-recording the lectures, I'm just going to use the old lectures. But here's the thing. I don't want you to get confused. So, like, if I say something in the videos that is specific to last year's course, just ignore it. Let me make this very clear. The only thing you should be paying attention to in those lecture videos is the actual lecture material, like me explaining the PowerPoints. Like if I say something about, don't forget, your assignments are due on Wednesday, ignore that. because that was for last year's course. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, if you have any questions, if this is unclear, or if you're watching a video and you're like, what did he do? I don't understand. Send me an email. Well, first, relax. Secondly, send me an email. We can talk through it on Skype. But that's the general rule. It shouldn't be confusing at all. I'm making this very clear. This is the rule. On those PowerPoint lectures that you watch on YouTube, the only thing that you should be paying attention to, the only thing you should be paying attention to is me explaining the material. All the other stuff, like announcements that I give in those lectures, don't pay attention to them because they pertained to last year's course. Okay, hopefully that's clear. I've obviously I'm re-recording a new introduction for 2006 for the 2016 course, in part to kind of explain that. But I do want to go and obviously to go through this syllabus, the current syllabus, which has the proper dates and stuff like that. So, having said all of that, the first assignment that you need to complete in this course is called the Information and Academic Honesty Policy Assignment. I'm just going to fast forward. You go down to the end of the syllabus, and voila, there it is. There's your information sheet, and there's your academic honesty policy. You can see there that there's a place for you to print your name. A digital signature is fine. That just means type your name in, basically. Let me go back up to the assignments. Okay. So all you have to do is just sign that, digitally, and then email it to me. That's all you have to do. By 4 p.m. Central on June 10th, 2016, which would be, I think that's a Thursday. Let me actually just make sure. 1 second here. Yeah. No, that's a Friday. Sorry. So Friday, June 10th. You have to email me. This will take you like 45 seconds. All you have to do is go down in your syllabus that you downloaded off of Canvas, print your name in there using your Microsoft Word, and then send me an email. And then, maybe put in the subject information sheet, academic honesty policy, so that I know that that's what it is. The second assignment is just as easy. You have to download Skype. This assignment is actually due on June 8th, so Wednesday, June 8th. It's due a little bit sooner because I need you to get Skype quickly so that we have everything all set up. So all you have to do is download Skype, add me as an instructor, or I'm sorry, add me as a contact, and then you have to email me your Skype name. Okay? Maybe put in the subject Skype name, and then in the email just tell me, hey professor, my Skype name is blah blah blah, whatever your Skype name is. When you download Skype, if you don't, assuming you don't have an account already, you'll have to set up an account. It'll take you a minute, and you have to give yourself a Skype name. Okay? So as I already mentioned, my Skype name is Mo Masri. Yeah, and I have instructions in there. So if you download Skype and send me an email by June 8th, by 4 p.m. on June 8th, with your Skype name in it, you'll get 10 points. So that's a pretty easy 10 points right there, okay? If you do not include your Skype name in your email, you will not receive the full 10 points for the assignment. So take note of that. The tests are multiple choice and true-false exams pulled from the chapters. It says, and possibly some short answer questions as well. Let's see how that goes, but at least 95% of the questions will be multiple choice true-false, if not 100%, okay? And we have 3 exams in the semester, and then we have a final exam. So we have 4 exams. What's going to happen is there'll be an exam date, as I'll show you in a minute. Like there's exam 1 date, whatever that is. And I'll when we get to the schedule, I'll tell you when that is. You're going to have to basically log into Canvas and take the exam online. It's a timed exam, so you don't have unlimited time. Okay, it's um, it's a no notes, no open. It's not open book. I'm not going to be there to watch over you. So if you cheat, you cheat. But I'm just telling you, students that cheat or try to cheat on this exam on these exams are going to have a they're going to have a big problem because it's timed, and you don't have time to go through and dig up and try to look for answers, if that makes any sense. So anyways, um, the tests are multiple choice, true, false. We have 4 of them, exam 1, 2, and 3 during the semester, and then we have the final exam. Okay, so and you actually have a window, like you'll have basically all day to take the exam, right? So I think the window, you can check Canvas, but the window I think opens at 9 a.m. on the day of the exam, and then the window closes. This is important. The window closes at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay. What that means is you have to be done with the exam by 11:59 p.m. So don't like start the exam at 11:30. That would not be wise, okay? You'd want to, at the latest, at the absolute latest, you want to start the exam at like 11 o'clock, okay? And ideally, don't wait that long, especially on exam 1, because if there's a technology problem or something like that, there shouldn't be, but if there's a technology problem, then you're out of luck. I won't accept any excuses like, well, I started my exam at 11 o'clock. Well, you should have started earlier. Especially for exam 1, I recommend starting at like 9, 10, 11 in the morning, or certainly by the afternoon, so that if there is a problem, you can contact me and let me know. Make sure that your computer is uh, charged up so that you don't run out of battery in the middle of the exam. That would be bad. But the exams it's like the course. It's very convenient. You have that window so you can take the exam at your preferred time. You have 3 short papers in this class. So you have brief paper number 1, and I'm going to explain this lecture is going to be, or this recording is going long, and it's going to be a little bit longer than most, partly because I want to explain everything in detail, and I do want to explain these assignments. So this is your official explanation for brief paper number 1. Okay, it's called the International News Reflection. It's worth 45 points. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to identify an ongoing international news story, right? Anything that's going on right now it's got to be international. It could involve the United States, but it can't be exclusively about the United States, if that makes sense. So you could take there was the recent tragic crash in the Airbus that crashed in Egypt, right? You could take that as a story. You could take the ongoing story about Syria, right? The civil war in Syria, something like that. It could be something in the UK. It could be something in Canada. Something international. If the U.S. is involved, that's okay. But the U.S. can't be the only actor, right? So an international news story. What I want you to do is I want you to read several different print articles about that story. Print articles. That means not like CNN.com. I want you to actually read newspaper articles. CNN is not a newspaper. They have a print medium. They have their website, but I want you to actually read newspapers like, the New York Times, the Guardian, and definitely don't read exclusively American newspapers. I want you to read a diverse range of newspapers. So British newspapers, maybe Canadian newspapers, maybe newspapers, English language newspapers in the Middle East or in Asia or whatever, right? So you read several print articles about this issue, and then I want you to write a brief reflection paper that compares coverage in 3 separate articles. So of all the articles you read, and I won't know, and I won't have any way of knowing how many you actually read. I would recommend, just so you really understand the story, I would recommend 8, 9, 10 articles. But it's up to you, really. what I want you to do is critically examine and comparatively examine 3 articles that you read. And I'm going to make this a rule. No more than one of the articles can be an American newspaper. Okay? So you might choose an article in the New York Times and an article in the Guardian, which is a British newspaper, and you might choose an article in the Toronto Star. I mean, I'm just throwing out 3 newspapers here. But I want you to critically examine how the coverage in those 3 newspapers differs, and also how it's similar. Where are the tensions? Where are the overlaps, right? You might think about things like, what do they highlight? What do they leave out? What kind of sources do they consult, right? Are there images, like pictures? Obviously, you're just going to be using the internet. You're not going to have to get the physical copy of the newspaper, right? What else? So exclusion and inclusion are very important. Sourcing is very important, right? Think about framing. Framing refers to the slant. Like, what kind of angle are they taking in the article, right? Those are the kinds of things that you want to be thinking about. I suggest doing some kind of apples to apples comparison. Like, let's say you take the Syrian conflict. Don't take an article from the New York Times that was published about the economic ramifications of the Syrian conflict and compare it to an article in The Guardian that deals with the human toll, or the death toll, casualties of the Syrian conflict. That wouldn't make any sense. Try to have it apples to apples. And the best way to do this, frankly, is to take an issue, like let's say you took the Egypt air disaster from it was around the middle of May 2016 that plane crashed. What I would do if I were taking that story is I would go the day after the crash, and I would look at stories, because that's apples to apples. All of the newspapers were writing about the same issue, which was that the plane crashed. There was the day after any kind of a disaster like that. It's always just a general recapping of what happened, right? So that's the best way to do it. If you take a story about the Syrian conflict, go to the same day, like 3 newspaper articles published in 3 different newspapers on the same day, right? That's the best way to do that. Hopefully that's clear. If you have any questions, let me know. Your paper should be between 1.5 and 2 pages. Remember, Times New Roman, normal margins, and double spacing. It says I will say more about this assignment in lecture. I will not say more about this assignment in lecture. And if I do say something about it, ignore it. Remember, those lectures that I post, or that are already posted, were recorded last year. So the assignment may have been a little bit different last year. I don't even remember. I may have had a different requirement. I may have changed something. So don't pay attention. Ignore anything that I say about that assignment in the other lectures that you'll see posted, the PowerPoint lecture videos that you see posted to YouTube. That's your official description of that assignment. Paper number 2, and we'll see the due dates if you scroll down. You can see the due dates, but I'll show those to you in a minute. This is the entertainment media reflection. Here, I want you to think about some entertainment medium. It could be music. It could be video games. It could be Hollywood movies. Some kind of entertainment medium, right? And think about how this particular media affects American culture and society, right? And I don't want it to be just your opinion, like, well, I think Hollywood movies are really bad because they're immoral, and because I don't want that. I want this to be a research paper. So I want some empirical evidence. I want you to think about, you should probably think about a question. It's good to start a paper like that, have a research question. Like, for instance, this is just an example. You don't have to do this. This is just an example. What are the effects of playing violent video games? Then what you would do is, don't give me your opinion. Don't give me 2 pages of your opinion on that. Like, well, I play a lot of violent video games and I'm just fine, so I think that there are no effects. That would, with due respect, I don't want to read that. I want research. I want empirical evidence. So what you want to do is go find scholarly studies that have examined that issue empirically, meaning they've studied it systematically, scientifically, and tell me what they found. You might find 2 or 3 studies, and that's your paper. You summarize the findings. You could have a little reflection paragraph at the end where you sort of reflect on it and give me your take. That's fine, but I don't want the whole paper to be just your opinion, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Last semester, last semester it was a group. Had this as a group assignment. It was a little bit longer, and a couple of students, they got together. They did their paper on the effects of pornography on behavior, on human behavior, and they found a bunch of studies, and they read the studies, and they did a really good paper. So that's another example. But find scholarly sources. Now you might ask, well, how do I find scholarly sources? Well, one way. Let me actually just go on to the internet here. You can go to scholar.google.com, Google Scholar, and you can find sources this way: effects of violent video games. And then, bam, there you go. There's a study by Anderson and Bushman, published in Psychological Science in 2001. Looks like you can even get the article if you just click on that. There's another article by Sherry, another one. So there you go. The other way to do this, if you can't access the articles here, sometimes Google doesn't allow you to access the articles without paying. Wonderful thing about being a student, and you pay for this, you can just go to our library website, and we have a really good subscription to academic databases. Here's what you want to do. You go click on library at the UNA website. You scroll down. You go resources by title. Click on the letter C. Scroll down. Communication and mass media complete. That's the database that you want to use. It'll ask you for your username and password. You log in, and then voila, there it is. I always like to come down here and click this box, make sure that it's scholarly journals, and then you can do effects, and then video games. Search. And you can search for whatever you want, and you'll find, there are thousands and thousands of articles in here. So here are 439 hits. Some of these will be appropriate, relevant, some of them won't, but that's kind of how you can find scholarly sources, okay? You won't need them for the International News Reflection paper, brief paper number 1, but you will need scholarly sources for brief paper number 2. And again, I want you to write 1.5 to 2 pages. Third paper. Social media reflection. Here, I want you to watch this video. It's called Generation Like. This is the link right here that you can just click on this from the syllabus, and it will take you to Generation Like. And it's a free video, PBS, and you can watch it. It's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour long, something like that. It's been a little while since I watched it, but it won't take you too long to watch. Take some notes, and then I just want you to write a reflection on this video. I want you to let's do it like this. Let's say spend a good half of the paper, like let's say you write 2 pages, give me a good page just summarizing what the video is about, what that documentary is about, because I want to make sure that you actually watched it. And then in the last half, you can give me your reflection. Talk to me about whether or not you agree or disagree. Talk to me about, you could write about something particularly interesting. You could write about questions that you have. You could tie in the content of the video to the real world somehow, or to your own personal experience. So that's your opportunity to critically reflect. So let's say half and half. Hopefully that's clear. Hopefully now you've gotten a clear explanation of all three of these assignments. Each of them are worth 45 points. If you have any questions, email me. This is how your grade is going to shake down. You've got the 3 exams. That's 300 points. You've got a final exam. It's worth 150 points. So there's 450 points right there. And then you have another 150 points between the assignments that I just talked about, the papers, and then those 2 simple little, the 10-point assignment that I talked about and the 5-point assignment that I talked about. And then finally, here is the schedule, and you can see that I've got the due dates in the schedule. This is just to kind of keep you on track. Now, technically, if in week 2 let's say you're behind. I mean, there's no consequence. You can get behind at your own risk, but if you got behind because you have a busy work at week or whatever, a busy week at work, you can afford to get behind in this class, but you have to make sure that you're caught up by the time exam 1 comes around. Exam 1 is on Monday, June 27th. So at 9 a.m., it'll open up. At 11:59 p.m., it'll close. You've got to take exam 1 on that day. There's no flexibility with this. I'm sorry. You've got to take the exam on that day. If you have some really like an emergency, some extenuating circumstance, email me in advance and I'll see what I can do, okay? But the general rule is you have to take that exam on June 27th. And that exam covers chapters 1 to 5. So that means you have to have read chapters 1 through 5 and watched the PowerPoint YouTube video lectures that correspond to chapters 1 to 5 before taking the exam. Okay? Make sure you're caught up before June 27th. If you get a little bit behind on June 17th, that's okay. But you got to get caught up later. Okay? So, also brief paper number 1. That's the International News Reflection assignment. That's due on June 22nd via email. Just email it to me by 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then, what else do we have here? Brief paper number 2 is due on July 7th, 4 p.m. Again, via email. Just email it to me. Exam 2 is on July 12th, Tuesday, July 12th. That will cover chapters 6 through 10. And then exam 3 will be on July 28th. And that will cover just 4 chapters, chapters 11 through 14. And then actually before that, on Monday, July 25th, you got to get that brief paper number 3 done. Might not be a bad idea to get brief paper number 3 finished a little bit earlier, like maybe July 23rd or 24th or whatever, because then you'll have more time to study for that 3rd exam. And then just get a few days and we have our final exam on August 1st. Nice thing about the final exam, I take a lot of the same questions. I'm telling you right now, I take a lot of the same questions that I asked in exams 1, 2, and 3, and I ask them again on the final. So if you do well on exams 1, 2, and 3, you should do well on the final. Make sure you read through this carefully. I mean, I went through that very quickly, but make sure you study this. This is your best friend, this little schedule here, so that you can stay on track. Put that all into your calendar so you know when our assignments are due and when our exams are, all right? This is my student accommodation statement. You can read that on your own time. This is the Title IX statement. That's important. You should read that as well on your own time. And then the syllabus, the last part of the syllabus is just this information sheet and then the academic honesty policy, which I already showed you. Read through those, sign them, fill them out. Well, in the case of the information sheet, you have to fill this out and then email them to me and you'll get points. That is it. Hopefully this recorded.